everybody. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whenever it is you're listening to us. It's me, it's John, your good friend. And as always, I've got my good friend with me, except for when I'm recording minisodes out in the field. It's Brian.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Brian, how are you, my friend?
Feeling good, feeling great. How are you?
I am awesome. And I hope you all liked my little surprise McNugget of a minisode that I put up there for you. Did you like that?
I liked it, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I was in Miami this past weekend, and I saw The Lion King, the new adaptation. So I put up a little mini-sode action. So number 34 is up there for your guys' and gals listening pleasure. But today we didn't come here to talk about The Lion King.
No, instead we decided to take an adventure.
Right. We decided to set sail on the open sea on a very old ship. And something happened to that ship.
What happened to that ship?
They made a movie of it.
Oh, they did they?
Yes, the ship did a little flip.
Did a little flip?
It was a ship flip.
Okay.
Little flippy over thing. We're talking, of course, about the Poseidon Adventure from 1972.
I'd say not, of course, because there's the Titanic is also a very well-known cruise liner that went down suddenly, did a little flippy flop.
It did, well, yeah, that was not much of a flip as it was a tilt.
As a flop.
Well, it flopped and it kind of did more of a tilt.
Yeah.
Because it did like a ram, and then it did a little tilt by the bow, and then more of a tilt, and then it did a split.
Yeah.
And then it just did a sink. This was just a flip.
This was a flip. This thing sailed along on its head.
Right. But I wouldn't say it was a flop.
Okay.
The movie.
The movie, right.
Right. Yeah.
So this is your surprise pick of the week.
This was my surprise pick of the weekend, and I wasn't sure. I had it narrowed down to 3 movies, and I'll reveal them just because I think we're going to do them anyway at some point in the future.
Yeah, good movie's a good movie.
Right. So it was down to the Poseidon Adventure, Back to the Future, or Spaceballs. And I definitely want to do Back to the Future on the podcast sometime, although I don't know how. I want to do some kind of a special episode just because it's such an amazing movie.
Yeah, amazing 3 movies.
What the hell's that noise? Something going on outside, I guess. All right, sorry. Anyway.
Well, why did you choose Poseidon Adventure over the other 2?
Well, for Back to the Future, I wanted to do some kind of a special, which I guess, spoiler alert, there's going to be some Back to the Future special that we do at some point in the future. We don't know when we get back to it. And Spaceballs, I don't know. I feel like that should be one that we tell you guys we're going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that as a surprise. I wanted to be able to say, hey, next episode, Spaceballs, just to make it exciting.
Sure.
This one, I bet if I were to say, hey, next week we're doing the Poseidon Adventure from 1972. I don't know if you guys know that movie.
I knew that movie. I've not seen it, but I've seen clips and bits and pieces of it before, but I've never seen it start to finish.
Okay. So the burning question that's on everybody's mind, I'm sure. Did you like the movie?
I liked it.
Good.
I liked it.
Good.
It was, I gotta be honest, it was a little slow.
You thought so?
I was a little slow at points. I can bust out my notes and we can kind of go over it. But
I want to know.
Yeah, I generally liked the movie. It was a good start to finish. I loved all the actors. Thought all the performances for the most part were strong. Or the main performances were very strong.
Yeah.
There was some surprises in there.
Yes.
And there, I appreciated a lot of the effects also.
Yeah, for the time frame, I think I was definitely impressed with how well they pulled it off.
And this is one of those. Is it a classic?
I would say it is.
I think it's a classic.
I would say it is.
Yeah.
And Irwin Allen. It's hard to not say Irwin Allen because he reads Twitter. But Irwin Allen who produced this, has produced other sort of disaster movies. He was kind of sort of known for having a genre of, for being prolific in the genre of kind of disaster movies. He did another movie called The Towering Inferno, which is a great movie about a skyscraper that catches fire. And then that's the only other one I've seen. He also, other ones I've heard of, The Swarm, and there's another one, and City Beneath the Sea is another one that I've heard of that are also Irwin Allen movies.
Isn't there Earthquake also?
I don't know if that was his.
No? Okay.
Yeah. But I wanted to cover one of his movies just because of how good the movie is. And I had seen this movie a number of times also because, spoiler alert, it's a cruise ship movie, and I love cruises. So I have not been on a ship like that. The closest thing I was on was the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth II, for the 1999-2000 Millennium thing. The one and only time I sailed on Cunard Line. It's just not for me. It's just not my type of cruise ship. But I prefer the newer, more modern cruise ships. But some people like the older stuff. But that being said, so you enjoyed the movie. You said there were some surprises. What surprised you about this movie?
Oh, character deaths, some of the effects and things like that. So like this is we agree that this would be a classic movie, but did this film, in your opinion anyway, in your estimation, does it deserve to be on an AFI top 100 films of all time? Did it really push the genre along? Did it do anything new? It's a strong movie.
It is. I don't know if I would put it on a top 100. Definitely a top 250. Because again, there's so many other strong movies out there,
right,
that might bump this off. But I think if you were assembling such a list, I would put this in there. And then if you wound up, let's say you were assembling a top 100 and you had 105 movies, this one might get booted off. But it deserves to be on that list. Definitely deserves to be on like a top 250 list.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. And I mean, we're talking about an all-star cast here too.
Definitely. Yeah.
Gene Hackman, Leslie Nielsen, Shelley Winters, Red Buttons, Ernest Borgnine. Top tier cast members here. Did you? So, what did you think of that casting? What did you think of the cast?
I think they all put in really strong performances. There was a lot of back and forth between Reverend Scott, the Gene Hackman character, and Rogo, the Ernest Borgnine character.
Right.
Rogo is the lieutenant detective or what have you.
The cop.
The cop. Yeah. There is a lot of
tension.
A lot of tension that didn't really, again, strong performances from both, but right. A lot of the antagonistic attitudes towards Scott and Rogo just seemed over the top. Like,
it was almost like they were constantly bickering with each other and constantly at war with each other, because one wanted to do things one way and someone else wanted to do things the other way.
At first, I thought it was a difference in leadership styles. Yeah. Like I want to lead the group this way versus I want to lead the group this way.
Right.
There was a line that Scott said to Rogo. I forget. No, it was when he was pulling up. When Scott was using the fire hose to pull passengers up the ramp, he was. Rogo comes up and says, I don't like you. I don't know if it's your attitude or something else. And Scott goes, well, maybe it's because I'm so much like you and you don't look like looking at yourself.
Right.
And I can see that being a point of contention between the two. But on the other hand, they all have the same goal. The same goal is to live, to survive,
to get off the damn ship.
To get off the ship. So their fighting at different points just didn't make sense, especially after that point, after Scott already proved that he's got the interests of the group at heart.
Right.
He's doing the best he can with the resources that are available to him to lead everybody forward.
Right.
So The casting, I think, was all great, but it was just some of, I guess, the writing.
Yeah.
Was really took me out of it.
Yeah, and I really liked Leslie Nielsen as the captain.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it wasn't.
He was young.
Yeah, very young, and I remember reading something somewhere, and I don't remember where this was, but I remember seeing that Leslie Nielsen wanted to do a more serious role, so they gave him this role. Or this is one of the very few roles you're going to see him in terms of being serious. I mean, but one of the funny things I thought was on the bridge right after New Year's, the captain and the other people were looking at the radar, and one guy's like, "Oh, by the way, Happy New Year." "Oh yeah, you too."
Yeah.
Just that's so casual, I just thought it was funny.
I grew up watching a lot of science fiction and a lot of other. Leslie Nielsen, it's my understanding that he had a lot of serious roles early in his career. He didn't get into comedy until like the 80s.
Like the Naked Gun stuff, right?
Yeah, the Naked Gun stuff. Yeah, but
and Police Squad.
Yeah, he was in Forbidden Planet. Also, that's a really early science fiction movie. I think it's 60s even.
Oh, wow.
He's very young there. But Leslie Nielsen was a dramatic actor for the bulk of his career.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
He didn't get really known or popular until he started doing his comedy stuff in the 80s.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So do you have anything else you want to say on the casting? Because I've definitely got a lot of notes.
Casting itself, no, not really.
Okay. So, of course, me being the cruise guy, I made a bunch of notes about just sort of cruise inaccuracies that are there. But then again, I can't really bring up too many of them because it's such it's such an old movie with old cruise technology. So, to anyone who sees this movie who has never been on a cruise and thinks this could possibly happen, it can't.
Okay.
It can't. Number one, well, first and foremost, when a captain of a cruise liner is made aware of a tsunami, number one, a tsunami needs shallow water in order to gain traction or gain power. The fact that they're out in deep water means it's highly unlikely for that big of a rogue wave to come and topple them over.
Sure.
So there's that, number one. Number two, any captain that has had any sort of training would know they need to turn the ship into the wave. He's known about this wall of water coming towards the ship for a good, 5 minutes? 10 minutes maybe? Plenty of time. He could have turned the ship towards the wave and hit the wave head on. The ship would have been damaged, but it would have stayed afloat.
Yeah.
But the fact that he called for, and I thought that was funny, he said hard left. Should have been hard to port because captains don't say left and right, but that's another story.
Wow.
They started turning the ship way too late, and that's the reason the ship capsized in the first place.
Well, but before you get away from the wave, I've got a couple things I want to ask you about.
Sure.
This guy, whoever this dude is, who is saying that he can strip Leslie Nielsen of his captain.
Lenarkos,
yeah. It was my understanding, based off of the dialogue, and maybe I misinterpreted, misread it, or just didn't hear it, but it was my understanding that this guy, Lenarkos, is from the company that owns the Poseidon.
Correct.
Okay. And Poseidon is apparently an older ship, and it's on its last voyage.
Correct.
So to maximize scrapping the Poseidon or whatever, to get as much value for shareholders as possible,
right.
Let's get to our destination as quickly as possible.
Right.
How that doesn't seem right at all. And I can't imagine that somebody from I don't know, Princess Cruise or Royal, whatever.
Whoever owned it.
Some guy comes on, a chairman of the board or whatever. There's no way that he can just override the captain.
That is correct.
Especially when it comes to the safety of the passengers.
That's correct. And I actually have that as a note. The captain or master of the vessel would always have the final say, no matter what any owner's representative's, quote, legal rights might claim.
Nice. I'm glad we
Yeah.
you got that in the notes.
Yeah. And also, interestingly enough, this storyline, or I don't want to say storyline, this factoid or this occurrence is exactly the same thing as what happened on the Titanic. Mm-hmm. Because Captain E.J. Smith on the Titanic was running the ship at, I forget what it was, like 2/3 speed or something, or running with only 2/3 of the boilers lit.
Sure.
And Mr. I think it was Ismay, or is Ismay the builder? I forget. But the guy who represented the owners of the ship basically said, no, I want to impress everyone. I want the Titanic to show up to New York a day early. I want you to light the last boilers and go full speed and whatnot. And Captain Smith said, no, I don't want to do that because it's a safety issue. But the guy's like, no, you got to do it, and I'm ordering you to do it, and blah, blah, blah. So same exact thing happened on the Titanic. And I don't even know if that's where they got that thing for the story for this, but I found that really funny.
Well, that's the thing I wanted to ask you about. What's the likelihood that if they weren't going as fast as they were, what's the likelihood of them missing that wave entirely?
That's a great question, because if you think about it, they already said they were 3 days behind schedule.
I missed that line of dialogue.
Yeah, because that was when Lenarkos was sort of arguing his case for them to speed up.
Uh-huh.
He was saying we're already 3 days behind schedule. So, and I don't remember if that was made known. That was made known before the tsunami. So don't worry about that. But when he said, go full ahead and everything, if they had continued going slower, it's entirely possible they would have made it, because when you see that tsunami sort of approaching the ship, it appears to start cresting. Mm-hmm. So it's not, the wall of water is traveling, and then it starts to crest. So in theory, and this is a reach, but I'm just going to say it anyway, if they were still going slower, it is entirely possible they could have missed the wave, or the wave would have crested already, and they would have hit maybe choppy waters, but it wouldn't have been that wall of water. Well,
let me put this to you on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
If the captain or the crew or whatever were doing what they were supposed to do and they were on schedule, they would have missed the wave completely.
That's correct.
Because they would have been way ahead.
That's correct.
So it's hard to say who's really at fault here.
Right.
It could be anybody.
Right, exactly. And also, that's another thing. When it comes to planning a voyage, and I highly doubt this has changed very much in the years cruising has been a thing, but they know exactly how fast the ship's going to go, the miles they have to travel, and how long it's going to take them. So the fact that they would be behind schedule is very unlikely.
Especially 3 days behind schedule.
Exactly. Now, granted, this might be a special case because it's the last voyage of the ship. There's not another voyage after it. But every cruise I've been on is one voyage right after another. I get off the ship on a Monday. The ship leaves that Monday to do another voyage.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can just extend a cruise if they want to. All of us as passengers would love that. We would love to have an extra day or two on the ship, but they never do. They rarely do that. I can't say never because it's happened with certain ports being canceled. They might have to take a longer route home and so forth, but then they have to finagle the schedules for the following cruises. But, it's extremely rare for them to modify an itinerary like that.
All right. Well, thanks for indulging those tangents. What other inaccuracies did you...
Oh, of course. Let's see. Unfortunately, I didn't group them together like I did for Speed 2. So I just have to skim my notes for my other cruise inaccuracies. But one thing I definitely made note of a few times is how obnoxious that little boy was.
Yeah, I liked him at first when he snuck into the captain's, when he snuck into the bridge.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, this kid's got moxie. Mm-hmm. And then he started terrorizing his sister.
Oh, yeah.
Shove it, shove it, shove it.
Yeah, just stupid obnoxious. And another thing is, it is virtually impossible for just any old random person to just walk onto the bridge like that. Especially this kid walking like through ropes that block off certain areas. So I just thought that was kind of dumb. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of really the only things I made note of. Let me ask, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Because, we were kind of talking about pointing the finger of blame, with regards to who was, at fault for why the ship hit that wave. Was it because they were behind schedule and then they sped up and the timing brought them there? You personally, are you a let's find a way out kind of guy, more like Reverend Scott, or are you more a stay here and wait for help like the purser? Like, what would you have done in that scenario?
I've never been in any kind of catastrophe, any kind of.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank goodness. So there's what I think I would do and what I would really do. I would like to think that I'm somebody who would be proactive and looking for a way out. Yeah. Especially in this scenario, if I were on the Poseidon, if this was happening to me, knowing what the other characters know, I would have been with Reverend Scott. I would have. Yeah. I may not have been the one to take initiative to find the way out, but I would be with the people trying to find a way out.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially knowing that they were in the dining room, which was in the middle of the ship, no windows looking outside. So, it's highly unlikely that you're going to get help coming to you on a ship in the middle of the ocean. You kind of have to take your future in your own hands, so to speak.
Yeah, and so, I that's what it was. The bickering down there was annoying too.
Yes,
when they were all in the ballroom, like I just couldn't. It's like they were, and I understand this is a crisis, but and
it's a movie.
It's a movie, but they just like logic for a majority of these people went all out the window.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to smack that purser upside the head when, Reverend Scott was saying, everyone that was above us is dead because they're underwater. And the purser's like, it's not true.
What do you mean it's not true? You're standing on the ceiling.
Right. It's like, dummy, think about it. Anyone that was above us is below us. And what's below us? Water.
Yeah.
Like, you're a crew member. You're an officer on a ship. The fact that you even said that was stupid.
Yep.
So stupid. Okay.
I really dug the philosophy discussion that Father John and Reverend Scott were having down in the ballroom. Yeah. He's like, "Well, we need to get out of here. We need to get out of here right now. Come with us." He's like, "I can't leave these people." It's like, "But they decided to stay. And if you stay, you're going to die for sure. So what's the point of your life? Was it all for this? Are you just going to not fight? You're just going to give up?"
Yeah.
He's like, I guess I'm going to give up because I can't find it in myself to leave," which is admirable because he can at least provide comfort to the people that are still down there. But I can't imagine not fighting.
Right.
To get, I don't know. I agree. Save myself. I'm going to save if it's in my power to save other people. I absolutely will.
Me too.
And if I see a way out, then I'm going to try to shepherd as many people as I can with me.
Absolutely.
It's admirable. Father John stayed behind, but I can't subscribe to that philosophy.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand that being a man of the cloth. He wanted to provide comfort, like you said, to those people there. But I guess he felt that his sharing of comfort to them and being there for them in their moment of need brought him the comfort he needed in that moment.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you, but I'm with you 100%. I would be with Reverend Scott in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I got a little perverse pleasure out of the fact that the ballroom flooded like as soon as minutes later.
Oh yeah, and then everybody of course runs to the tree and starts trying to climb up, and of course it topples down,
it falls down.
Yeah, so that was there was a little bit of Schadenfreude there. I have to be honest.
Yeah. Mrs. Rosen, was she's giving up so soon down there, and she got
pretty damn far.
She got pretty damn far, and she was going to stay behind and just die in that ballroom.
She wanted to give up a few times.
It annoyed me so much.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the scene in the dining room, when the young girl jumped down from the table onto the tablecloth.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I don't buy it. Because that tablecloth would have ripped in half as soon as she hit it.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, a linen, like, made...
I feel like it would have had to have been 3, 4, 5 times as thick in order to... Because she was falling from a good 30 feet.
Easy, yeah.
Easily. 30, 40 feet. And, pulling that thing taut. I know what they were trying to do, and it worked, obviously, because she survived. But, I definitely was... tablecloths are not that thick.
Yeah.
But then again, it was the 70s, so maybe that was something different.
Things are made to last back then.
I definitely could do without Shelley Winter's little noises.
Yeah.
That was a little annoying.
A little embarrassing moment for me. I saw Shelley Winters, like, oh, Shelley Winters is in this. And I was thinking it was Shelley Long.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's like, what is Shelley Long? She's older. She's heavier.
I have gotten the two. I've gotten the two confused also.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting piece of trivia about this on IMDb that apparently Red Button's character, who was that jogger, I forget what his character name was, but I know we just kind of called him the jogger.
Yeah.
And Nani, who's that girl he kind of rescues, they couldn't stand each other during the actual recording process, but they became friends like many years later.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I always find that funny because that's true apparently with the Golden Girls also. Apparently most of the Golden Girls didn't really like each other. At least I know B. Arthur people didn't like B. Arthur for whatever reason, but they worked so well together on screen.
Oh my God.
And you would never know it from watching the brilliance that was that show. And
great actors.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's see. So what are the notes you got?
The capsizing sequence, that entire sequence where the ship flipped over.
Yep.
Incredible.
Yes.
Loved it.
Yes.
The effects, it was believable.
Very much so.
Yeah. I saw that they were tilting the camera to compensate, but I could also tell that the set tilted as well.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Loved it.
I loved that. And I was reading the IMDb trivia because I'd seen this movie a number of times. So, and I'm going to mention in my engagement factor, I'm going to compensate for that. But I was reading the trivia and I saw that the entire set could tilt 45 degrees.
Okay.
So they tilted it 45 degrees and then they used some creative camera work to, like, when they were showing the people falling and stuff, that was just vertical, regular cameras and people falling, straight ahead. Then they cut to the scene where they had flipped the set 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. And then, but they started that scene with the set flipped 45 degrees and then it went back to level, but it was the ceiling on the floor kind of thing. So, but I agree with you. Completely brilliant. Very, very well done. And just like I said before, very, very well for the time frame.
Yeah.
Because 1972, they didn't have all the CG and all that stuff. So this was all live action, real stuff.
All practical.
All practically shot. So, that's why I have a lot of respect for things like this. Okay, I want to talk about, and again, we're spoilers on here, but, you guys know that. Mrs. Rosen dying. I take issue with that.
Yeah,
and I know you did too.
I did too.
I know we've kind of changed that we don't really talk a lot during the movie, so we can talk about it up here. But you were like, you had a clear what the fuck look on your face.
Yeah.
For most of that, and I noticed a bit of trivia on IMDb because again I was reading it that CPR training was a fairly new thing. CPR training started to become more available around 1960.
Did he do CPR on her?
No.
I didn't even...
He made no attempt to resuscitate her.
Oh, no.
Which I took issue with as well.
Shit. She could have lived.
She could have lived. Yes. Oh. And I had just gone through a number of training classes because I'm a scuba diver as well. Just a little known fact for you guys. And I had just gone through some training for rescue diver certification, which I got a couple days ago, so that was fun. Mm-hmm. But part of that training also involved first responder training, CPR, first aid, that type of thing. So the one saying that they would tell us is, oh shit, now it's I'm lost. Adequate care provided is better than perfect care withheld.
Gotcha.
So there we go. That's it.
Yeah.
Adequate
just do your best.
Do your best. That's it. And if even if he had gotten her breathing again, they were so close at the very end. They were in that last room, and there would have been some challenges getting her up the girders and stuff. But I'm sure if her heart started again and she started breathing again, she probably could have lumbered her way through.
Yeah.
And gotten out.
I did not like that at all. She was awesome. She
really was.
Swam through the corridor, freed up Reverend Scott's, got him through to the other side. Like, okay, everything's great. And then she holds like her side. She doesn't hold her heart. She's not holding her breast. She's holding her side as if like she has a stitch or she's got like a cramp or something.
Yeah.
And then it turns out, oh, I'm having a heart attack. What?
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently, and I mean, I've never had one, so I can't say from experience, knock on wood, but apparently people say that you could get a pain in your side or a pain in like your one of your limbs.
I've always heard it's the left arm or the side that your heart is on, which is typically the left side of your chest. It's the pain goes through your left arm, left shoulder first, and that's like the sure. If you feel that, that's a sure sign.
And she was gripping her right side, I think.
You might be right. I seem to remember her gripping her left side with her right arm.
Maybe that's what I thought was her right side. Yeah. Either way, all that aside, it sucked that she had to die. I also really didn't care for Grogo's line. You had a lot of guts, lady. Yeah. I didn't care for that line.
Oh, I thought that was fine.
I mean,
Rogo is a loudmouth.
Yeah, he's a loudmouth. He's a boisterous kind of guy. I didn't care for his choice of words. Yeah, but maybe that's just my own little issue.
He should have taken a page out of the kid's book and like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you a 600-pound whale. I meant to say
right, because there's a double entendre in what he said. You had a lot of guts, lady.
I didn't even pick that up.
Yeah, you had a lot of guts, lady, and then he just waits again and looks at her and he goes, a lot of guts.
I didn't pick that up at all.
So he was, it was the lot of guts like you were brave, but then a lot of guts like you literally have a lot of inside guts.
Yeah.
So,
didn't get that.
Poor choice of words.
Yeah.
But
funny. So I had an issue with Reverend Scott always having to do everything himself. Everybody tries to offer to help him. He's like, no, I'll do it. You said. And Rogo, Ernest Borgnine, did the same thing. Yeah. Every time somebody offered to do something, he just like bats, no, I'll do it. I'll do it myself. I'm a man.
I think the two of them were just alpha males trying to battle for glory.
If somebody offers you help, take the help.
Right. And don't just yell at someone who's trying to help you.
Robin is missing, and I'll go find Robin. No, I'll find Robin. You all go ahead, and I'll risk my life to find this kid. Going to the engine room. Oh, no, you all stay behind. I'll look at the engine room myself. Swimming through the corridor. No, you all stay behind. I'll swim through the corridor. Like, come on, man.
Well,
we're a group.
I think I can understand. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But I think I understand why, though, because he probably was saying, let me put myself at risk so you guys don't have to.
I understood the sentiment.
I'll let me deal with it because it's dangerous and I might die trying. I'd rather me be the one to die instead of you.
Yeah.
I think that was probably why he did it. I don't necessarily agree with it all the time because especially if I'm with a group of people, because I love to collaborate on things. This podcast. I love collaborating with people. And if I'm with someone that says, I can do this well, I'm going to say, okay, if you've got experience doing this, by all means, do it.
Yeah. Yes. Case in point, Mrs. Rosen.
Exactly. But, I mean...
did she have that?
Did you do that?
I did that, yeah.
Okay. Just freaked me out a little bit.
Did she have that women's swim champ pendant around her neck?
Yes. The whole time.
Why was she wearing that?
I don't know. I mean, it was.
She was waving it in Scott's face, like, "Look, I'm a swim champion. Let me do it."
Right. It's
so funny.
Like if someone says, if I go to a gun range and I'm shooting at the gun range and someone comes up and says, "Hey, can I give you a couple of pointers?" and they say, well, I've got a number of championships here, I've got a lot of experience, I'd love to help you, I'm going to say, abso-freaking-lutely.
Even if they didn't preface it with "I've got all these awards and stuff," I'm like, well, maybe you know something that will help me be better.
Exactly.
That's what.
Exactly.
Take a helping hand when it's offered, Scott.
Exactly.
That's why you died.
Right. Well, and speaking of that, when he fell, there is no clear indicator that he actually died, because he would have, when he slipped right through the fire, he wouldn't have been burned, or not very severely. He could have swam to a safe place, climbed out, climbed back up, and survived. I don't think he died.
He was right underneath that steam cloud. He had been fighting all the way through that ship, almost by himself, just clearing the way.
Yeah.
He had fucked up his arm trying to jump out to the wheel thing. Right. I don't think he had anything left in him at that point. And he's yelling the whole time. He can't stop yelling.
Yeah, that too. But there was a question on IMDb about, did the Reverend commit suicide?
No.
Yeah, there is a question there. And the response was, the gist of the response, well, actually, let me read it.
Well, I don't agree that he committed suicide.
Hold on, I'm going to find it.
Granted, it looked like that he let go of the wheel and dropped himself, but to me, it looked like that he just he used the last of his strength, again, underneath of billowing steam. That shit's hot.
Yes, it is.
Hot. I think that he was just exhausted, and with the last of his strength, he closed the valve and let himself go after he inspired the rest of the group to keep moving forward.
Right.
I don't think he committed suicide. I thought it was just exhaustion.
Okay. And I get that. So here's on IMDb, someone wrote a question, did Reverend Scott commit suicide? And here's what it says. In order to shut off the hot... What are you doing?
I'm sorry. Fuck.
Yeah, okay. In order to shut off the hot steam pouring from the broken pipe and blocking their way into the propeller shaft room, Reverend Scott leaps from the catwalk to the steam valve, all the while denouncing God for his lack of help. Scott successfully shuts the valve, but as he hangs from the wheel with his badly burned hands, he suddenly lets go and falls into a vat of fire-covered liquid. It's not quite clear in the movie whether he intentionally let go or simply could hold on no longer. The novel is much clearer about that point. Scott intentionally sacrifices himself in order to propitiate his God. I don't know what that word means. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then a little bit later, some viewers prefer to believe that he could hold on to the wheel no longer and didn't have the strength to swing himself back onto the catwalk. So, I kind of like what you were saying.
Oh, I didn't even read that. So in the book, it's clear that he killed himself.
No, well, in the book, there's a monologue that he, I guess, shouts during this part because he's always shouting. Yeah. So that might provide more insight into that.
Okay, but they don't. IMDb doesn't say what that's
correct.
That is
correct.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
What do you think that he killed himself, or
I think he could have survived because he had so much energy. He had boundless energy, it seemed. I mean, I feel like he could just, especially when everybody was climbing up that catwalk towards that little door at the very end, before he jumped out onto the steam thing, he still had the energy to say, let's go, come on. And after, like, when Mr. Rosen was laying with his deceased wife, Reverend Scott was still inspiring everybody, and saying, come on, let's go. He had that just endless energy. And I think once he turned the thing off, I think he very well could have made it, back up.
Okay. So despite the sermon on the deck before the accident, God is for the strong, never give up, never say die.
Right.
And a continuation of that conversation with Father John in the ballroom.
Yep.
and everything he does up to that fighting through the decks and decks and decks, and finally gets up to the last room. If he had the strength to save himself, you don't think he would have saved himself?
I think
you think that
I think he gave up.
But he's imploring everyone else to not give up, keep going forward. Rogo, take them forward. And he had preached never giving up to the whole deck and to Father John. And at the very last, his very last act is to give up. It doesn't seem to be in character for me.
I agree with you. Because if he was staying true to his never giving up thing, he would have let go, seen that he was going to fall into water, come up out of the water, and keep on going.
I think he saw that when he jumped out to the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he put himself in a. I don't think he killed himself.
I don't know.
I don't think he intentionally killed himself.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a pretty pivotal moment in the movie. So definitely watch this movie. Tell us what you think. Tweet us at Casual Movie Club. Send us an Instagram if you want to take a picture of the title on the movie or the scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Post it on Instagram. Tell us what you think. Do you think Reverend Scott killed himself, or do you think he was just at his end and he was exhausted and he just didn't have anything left to give?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
interesting discussion.
And that's about the end of the movie. So you ready to do numbers?
Yeah, let's do numbers.
All right, and by numbers, you all may be wondering, those are the numbers that we give to various criteria about each of the movies that we rate and that we watch for you all. And you can find those on our leaderboard over at casualmovieclub.com. Click on leaderboard on the top, and it'll take you to our giant leaderboard where we have the ratings for things like acting. How well did the actors convey the story? How believable were they? The script. What did we think of the quality of the writing, the story itself, the dialogue? How well were things written? Presentation. How were things presented from a visual standpoint? Editing and visual effects. Too much green screen. Not enough effects and things like that. Music and sound, the goodies for your ears, as I like to call it. The soundtrack as a whole, the sound effects, score, music, all that good stuff. Uniqueness. Has this movie or type of movie been done before? Or engagement factor. Does this movie keep you engaged, or would you rather be weeding Twitter? So on that note, because it was my surprise movie, I'd like to have you start, Brian. What do you think of the acting?
The performances were strong. There is a little bit of overacting here and there with Nani and Robin. Linda in the beginning with her suppositories also.
I know what to do with a suppository.
Ernest Borgnine and his deep V-neck t-shirt. Always yelling, always just chewing up the scenery every time he's on it. I loved the performances. Taken all together, nothing really stood out to me other than Scott and Brogo. So I give the acting a solid 3.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm actually going with a 4 for acting because I liked the performances of everyone, especially the chemistry between the people on there. I know I've talked about that in other episodes. But I really liked that sort of battling chemistry between the two leads. I thought it brought a certain level of enjoyment to the movie. I don't think I'd go any higher than a 4, especially because of the overacting and the kind of obnoxiousness of Little Robin.
Yeah.
So 4 for me.
The chemistry that I really liked, which was surprising giving your IMDb trivia a nugget, was Red Buttons and Nani.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell that they hated each other at all.
Neither could I.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament to how good good at their craft they are.
Yeah.
So the script, the quality of the writing and the story, I really liked it. I liked one thing you called out was kind of that sort of philosophical discussion. I liked that this movie was not just a disaster movie. There was sort of, it was something that made you think, or left you kind of, it gives some good talking points about, what would you do in this type of situation? Are you a leader? Are you a follower? Are you someone that would wait for help, or would you go seek out help? I always really like movies that have you asking those questions, or at least giving you good things to talk about afterwards, instead of just being a dumb action movie. And I can tell you the remake of Poseidon is a dumb action movie.
I've never seen it.
You're not missing much. Script is 4.25 for me.
4.25. Wow.
Yep.
So for me, the script could have used some work. I loved the philosophical discussions. I loved the personality styles that were written into it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they fleshed them out enough during the crisis itself.
Did they need to, though?
Some of the well, yeah. If I'm going to care about them,
okay.
Like I didn't care about the Irish guy with his cut leg. Didn't care about him at all. When he died, I was just yawn fest. Of course, he was going to die. They were telegraphing that from a mile away. The people didn't really like Robin that much. I mean, he was precocious at times, annoying the rest of the time. It was just like the slog through the ship it drug on at times, and I think they could have expedited that, or they could have added more character development there. I'm going to give the script a 3.5.
Okay, I think it's better than a 3. But I'm glad that you gave it better than a 3. Is what I mean. Presentation. What did you think of the presentation? I know you called out some things that you really liked, but presentation as a whole.
As a whole, I give it a 4.
4. Very nice.
Give it a 4. I would just be retreading ground that we've already covered.
Yeah, and I'm going to share your 4 with the presentation, because I wrote down a couple things like some of the far shots of the ship were kind of washed out, even though it looked like the movie had been digitally remastered, and it looked great for being from 1972, because we watched it in 1080p, so it looked really good. And there was only one obvious green screen. Did you catch any green screening?
The very end, when they were flying away.
Oh, that, and also in the beginning when they were looking out the porthole of the bridge, looking at the bow of the ship as it was kind of tilting.
Oh yeah, that wasn't really good to look at.
Yeah,
and I really just forgot about it. It was that bad.
That's fine. So music and sound, goodies for your ears. I'm taking a little bit of points off for this. I liked the music. The music was great, but there were some scenes where they were missing sound effects. I don't know if you noticed that. The version we watched was actually off iTunes. Okay. So this is as good as it can get. One scene in particular that I can think of is right after they climb the Christmas tree in the beginning, kind of when they get out of the dining room, and Gene Hackman's character is going through the kitchen, and he's swaying his jacket, and he hits into metal poles a couple times. There's no Foley or no noises of him flipping the jacket. There's also, like, you can see him noticeably coughing. There's no sound effects of coughing.
I didn't notice that.
So there were a few of those in some other parts of the movie as well, where they were missing sound effects or missing Foley. So I thought that was a little careless. 3.5 for music and sound.
That was interesting for me, because the one part that stood out to me was when they were going to the engine room, and he opened the hatch, and the oil was dripping down.
Yeah.
Like, there was no soundtrack, no sound effects at all, and they were walking up through that area. There's no creaking of the ship. There was it was silent, and that was really jarring.
Yeah.
The music itself was fine. It was good for the time.
Yeah.
The dialogue was all at the same level. There was no volume control. And granted, we talked about Hackman and Borgnine yelling all of the goddamn time.
Right.
But they didn't modulate their voices, but everyone else talking around them was at almost like the same level.
Right. And the reason for that was the sound mix is in mono. So it basically means that it's, if you're listening on two speakers, it's coming dead center out of the middle of the speakers.
Right.
It's everything is at the same level, right smack in the same place. So everything, your dialogue, your sound effects, your music, it's all in the middle, in the same place. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of oral space or acoustic space to do that. Now, granted, I don't know if I'm not even going to continue that thought. So, music and sound, what'd you think?
I didn't like it. Wholly unimpressed. The orchestra that was supposed to do its job with building tension didn't build any tension at all for me. I didn't like it. I give it a 2.
Ooh, that's harsh. That's harsh. Okay.
That's how it goes.
Uniqueness. What do you got for that?
Now, thinking about the time that this came out, there. I didn't see a lot of movies around this time, but this is, from what I understand, the first like boat tragedy, the first boat disaster movie of its kind. But it felt like a lot of other 70s movies that I've seen. Okay. So it wasn't... and my scoring is as harsh for this, but I like this movie. I like this movie a lot. I bought it. I paid money for it. I liked it so much. I'm going to watch it again, but I wouldn't say it's wholly unique, given Gene Hackman and the type of movie that it is. So I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay. No, that's fine because and I was thinking about interrupting you, but I wanted you to finish your thought. So this is not the first boat tragedy movie because there's a movie called A Night to Remember, which is actually the story of the Titanic, and it's a black and white movie, and it came out I think in the 60s.
I didn't know that.
So this is not the first time we've seen this. However, this is the first time we've seen a ship capsize and people try to escape through the engine room by climbing, to lower decks, which are now higher decks, and
right.
That sort of thing. So I'm giving uniqueness a 3.75.
Okay.
Because there is some value in that, I think. Mm-hmm. Engagement factor, I think this is going to be an interesting one because I disagree with I can't say that because everyone perceives a movie differently. So I can't say that I disagree with it dragging, but for me, it didn't drag. For me, I'm thinking back to when I first saw this, I remember really just wanting to know where they're going to go next or what's going to happen or who's going to die or what's going to happen. So I did find this movie, and I do find this movie particularly engaging. It's a 4 for me for engagement factor. You're going to put like a 1 for engagement.
No.
Because you're harsh.
I like the movie.
A 1.5.
They were dragging. It was annoying, and it went on for too long in the ballroom. Once they got up and they were trekking through the ship, there were parts that just drug on. Especially when they were trying to get up the ramp, they were putting up people one at a time. When they were climbing through that one long corridor and they came across everybody else, mm-hmm. They just it felt like they were wasting time arguing with each other and back and forth. They almost looked like they split up for a time while Scott was trying to find the engine room. That took forever for me. But again, performances, the subject matter itself, a lot of the dialogue carried this movie for me when it was strong. So for me, engagement is a 3.
Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm kind of I respect that.
Thank you for your permission.
No problem. Do you want to do any take backsies?
No.
Okay, you sure?
I'm certain.
Okay. So, and
I would knock off points if I did a take backsies.
I respect that. I respect that implicitly. So would you say then that the numbers are in?
The numbers are in, yes.
Okay. So the numbers are in, and they go a little something like this, ladies and gentlemen of all ages. We've got, let me just pull up the leaderboard so I can see where this is going to lie. Okay. Oh, very interesting. Oh, I'm kind of okay with this. All right, here we go. Poseidon Adventure from 1972, acting 3.5, script 3.88, presentation 4, music and sound 2.75, uniqueness 3.38, engagement factor 3.5, for a total average of 3.5. So puts it right above Persona and right below Cadence.
3.5?
Yep.
Okay.
So the entire movie is averaged at 3.5, so it's right above Persona and right below Cadence.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Which like it.
I think it beats Speed 2 Cruise Control, so I'm happy about that.
It does?
It does.
It does.
Yeah, it beat Batman it beat Persona, Batman, Footloose, Human Centipede. It beat Inside Man, which is interesting.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same here. So for those of you who may remember from the previous episode, and I don't mean my little mini-sode, but the one before that, this is the final episode of Season 3 of the Casual Movie Club.
Yay!
Yay! So, yeah. So Season 3 welcomed some cool things. We got our merchandise now. We got our Patreon as well. Both are accessible from our website, casualmovieclub.com. And we're going to be taking the month of August off to do things that people would do in the month of August.
Yeah, vacation.
Exactly.
Go swimming.
That's right. And then we're going to come back at you in September. Do we know what we're going to come back with, or are we going to keep that a surprise?
I don't know. We batted around a couple ideas. Do you want to give the listeners any insight as to what we're going to come back with? Because it's either going to be one of a couple of things.
I think we should keep them guessing.
All right, let's keep them guessing.
Yeah. But know that we will be back.
We will be back.
We will be back. And I hope you will too. For the month of August, I hope you guys have a fabulous month, a fantastic month. Enjoy each other and enjoy many things that you can do in the summer. Go to the lake, go to the ocean, go to the beach, enjoy yourselves, take a cruise. Yeah. Anything else you want to say, Brian?
No. Happy summer, and we'll see you shortly.
Yep, we'll see you, and look for Season 4 of the Casual Movie Club. See ya.
Thanks.